Yeah, we make soft products. First of all, we cut and sew everything by hand here in Fredericton. We design all of our own stuff, and we source all the material. Like either if it's like a textile plant or like plastic buckles, stuff like that, we source it all from Canadian or U.S. manufacturers. Or if there's not an option there, we do it through North American retailers at least. So that's where all of our stuff comes from. That's the raw base of our products. The products started with a tire bag that was originally like known as the garbage and recycling bag. And that was special because I designed it with 6 D-rings inside of it. Like I've always seen it, and I always like heard complaints about like people like having their garbage bags fall down. And I always thought like that's just a mess. You're gonna have to get home and separate like your bacon wrappers from your empty beer cans and stuff.
Warning. The 4x4 Canada podcast contains discussion about exploring mountains, camping beside lakes, and enjoying the outdoors. Guests also talk about jumping race trucks side by side, racing 1,000 horsepower rigs across mud pits, and jumping monster trucks over stacks of buses. None of this is for the faint of heart. The 4x4 Canada podcast is not responsible for bringing out your inner adrenaline junkie or making you want to get out there and explore the back roads from coast to coast. The 4x4 Canada podcast is not responsible for broken parts due to jumping your vehicle, hitting mud poles too hard, crossing deep streams, and doing other dumb shit. However, we will take credit for inspiring you to explore mountaintops, spend quality time outdoors with your friends, or meeting new like-minded people, and most importantly of all, following your dreams.
So, hello everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. This is Trisha, your host at 4x4 Canada podcast.
Hey, I'm Wes, your other host.
Hey, I'm Nick, the owner of Adventure Trail Gear. Happy to be on the show today. And beside me, I have Nigel. How you doing? He's been with me for right from the start, basically, and recently added owner of the business as well.
Perfect. Good to know. I didn't know that. So that is great. Really looking forward to having you guys on here tonight. We've had a bunch of guests tell us that we got to get Adventure Trail Gear on.
Exactly.
And I'm sure you've been hearing it as well, too.
Yeah, I think we've worked with, I don't know, probably at least 4 different guys or businesses that have been on your show already and said, "Oh, wait, I gave you a shout out on 4x4 podcast. You gotta get on there with them." I told them they got an interview. Yeah, I will. Yeah. I will definitely try to put that in my calendar.
We know you're busy guys, so we definitely appreciate both of you taking the time to talk with us tonight. Before we hop into it, I just want to give a shout out to our episode from last week with Defender Destinations. They're a British couple that shipped over their Land Rover from England over to the East Coast Canada, and they drove across Canada and up to Tuktoyaktuk and then back down through BC. They spent a bunch of time on Vancouver Island, a bunch of time around in Calgary, and they have now crossed the border. They're heading down to Argentina on the Pan American Highway. It was an interesting conversation. It was fun getting some different perspectives, people from out of the country, right? Britain is the size of Vancouver Island or the size of PEI and all that over there, right? So it's a tiny little country, and getting their perspective on traveling such an amazing country like Canada was a lot of fun. And they absolutely love the East Coast, by the way, guys.
Yeah. Love the East Coast.
Wish we had run into them while they're here.
Yeah, it definitely would have been neat. So, and then also before that, 2 weeks ago, we had Jamie from Thor Motorsports. He is down at, I guess when this airs, he will be on his way back from the King of the Hammers race down in Southern California. So I had a great conversation with him. We talked a lot about what the King of Hammers is, a combination of rock crawling and desert racing and that. And last year was his first year. This year is the second year he's going down with his rock buggy, but he's also going down with the side-by-side. He's racing 2 classes. And Jamie's been around for years. He used to be throttle happy. He had a big, huge Jeep on nitrous and all that before. Him and I have been floating around the same circles in Ontario for, 10, 15 years. We actually never did get the chance to meet up. And so that interview a couple weeks ago was our first chance of going face to face, and it was a really neat conversation. We're going to have him back in a couple weeks to talk about how they did at the King of the Hammers this year. Both episodes, like I say, go back, listen to it if you have not heard it. It was a really fun conversation, and there's a lot of cool stuff about King of the Hammers that doesn't really get out into the press kind of idea, right? So we had some good stories on there. In the meantime, we are with the guys from Adventure Trail Gear. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Welcome.
thanks for coming.
Tell us about Adventure Trail Gear. Where it all began? Where are you guys located? Where are you guys from?
Oh, it's actually a fun start to it all. I'm gonna take you to the very, very start of how we figured out we could sew things. So 2016, my wife and I had our first house. I just got my Jeep that I actually was like a vehicle that I was going to take care of and off-road and make it more than just like a mud truck. And I wanted storage stuff for it, but I didn't want to buy it. I had just got my wife a sewing machine for Christmas, and I needed to do a bathroom renovation over March break. So my wife took the kids to her parents for the week. Before she left, I was like, hey, while I'm here doing the renovation, I'm going to try to mess around with your sewing machine to try a couple things. I went to the local fabric store and I asked the lady working there, like, what material I would need to make a hockey bag. And I told her what I planned on doing. She was super excited that I was going to try to teach myself how to sew. So I went home, did not do the bathroom renovation, and spent the majority of the week breaking needles. To start this, my wife had to show me how to thread the machine. Spent the week like drinking beers, breaking needles, not doing anything nice. After I finally made what was like an overhead storage console thing that I made, it was like a fabric panel with Molly on it. I still have it. It's in my garage, the original thing I ever made. I wanted to make it look nicer. I wanted to make some more pockets on it. I messed around with this same old machine for a while and eventually got good enough at it that some people saw things I made and said, hey, I'd like one of those. I was like, really? Okay, sure. But my wife was a little concerned that I was going to destroy her machine with the heavier fabrics and stuff. So I found an industrial one that I went and picked up in some guy's old shed behind his condo that we pulled out from underneath like tires and car parts. I fixed it all up, made it work, taught myself how to sew on that, and then just kept on trying bigger things, like had a purpose for something. I wanted to store stuff in my tire. I never had the trasharoo or anything before, but I've seen pictures of just bags hanging on tires. So I went and designed a bag to hang off a tire. A guy actually approached me and wanted to store his fire extinguisher mount somewhere. And I asked what type of Jeep he said had, and he said they had a Honda Civic, and he wanted a fire extinguisher mounted. So when he was going to the rally track, he had one there. So that's why I made one that mounted to the headrest, because I couldn't think of anywhere else to mount one in a Honda Civic. And so I was very much for the first 2 years just bumbling around designing things for random needs I came up with. Teach myself how to sew on what was a very entry like home-based sewing machine to like very rugged industrial ones. Slowly got a lot better at it. Slowly the demand outpaced my evenings, especially with 2 young kids back in those days. Found an awesome seamstress who's been with me since 2018, who is now a full-time seamstress. And then we have another part-time. And we've had a couple other part-times throughout, but as workflow ebbs and flows and stuff, we've been super fortunate to have the steady dedication from our full-time and our part-time seamstress. So that's where we started to where we are now, where I still design, I still do all the custom stuff. We have a full-timer, we have a part-timer. Nigel's learning now. I got some pictures of him doing some toe straps tonight. He made a yoga bag a year ago to carry his yoga block and his yoga roll and stuff. So yeah, everything is self-taught. Everything we design comes from a need that we have ourselves. Now sometimes we design based off a custom need requests, but yeah, it's all self-taught. Started in a basement, still in most basements. My setup is in my basement. All of our stock is in Nigel's basement. Our seamstresses work from their own homes. It's just a hot potato of products, raw materials, boxes, everything else.
I find that a lot of small businesses, or a lot of businesses in general, start off as having a need, finding a way to do something better. And it's like, I can't see anything else in the market that suits what I want or suits my price range or whatever it is. And how can I make this product work, or how can I make something work for me? And that's how a ton of businesses start out.
Yeah. I never planned on starting a business. It just happened.
Thrown into the fire, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so where can people find you on Instagram, Facebook, or your website?
We're most active on Instagram. It's just Adventure Trail Gear. We basically just share all of our posts that we put on Instagram to Facebook. We're a little more active on Facebook directly now with our event page and stuff.
Right.
Because we find a little bit of better engagement there. We can have conversations in threads better there than we do on Instagram. Haven't used YouTube a lot. We put some instructional videos up 3 years ago when we rebranded, just to get all the mounting instructions and stuff out there, like clean and formalized. But we're starting to go back to it now. Now that we work with like Ryan and Zach quite a lot for different media production, that we're starting to go back to getting some shorts out there, using it to market our event and using it to market some products, which is something we're going to try to leverage a little bit more in the future, especially now that I'm back in the East Coast and we can all collaborate together.
Yeah.
So those are the three. I think we have Threads, but that was just like by default. I think Instagram made it for us.
There's so many things. I was looking at your website and I've heard a lot of great things, as you mentioned, from Ryan and Zach, the Lost Spike, and Ryan, Hub City Overlanding. We've interviewed them both before on the podcast, and as well as a number of other people that have mentioned the great products that you guys have, as well as customer service. We're definitely not unfamiliar with your product, but for some of our listeners that may not be aware of your product, it's basically storage gear, soft storage gear going into the vehicles. You can check it out at adventuretrailgear.com or, like you mentioned, on Instagram, etc. What are some of your most popular sellers?
So this is coming off in 3 minutes if I'm rambling too much. Yeah, we make soft products. First of all, we cut and sew everything by hand here in Fredericton. We design all of our own stuff and we source all the material, like either if it's like a textile plant or like plastic buckles, stuff like that. We source it all from Canadian or US manufacturers, or if there's not an option there, we do it through North American retailers at least. So that's where all of our stuff comes from. That's the raw base of our products. The product started with a tire bag that was originally like known as the garbage and recycling bag. And that was special because I designed it with 6 D-rings inside of it. Like I've always seen it and I always heard complaints about like people like having their garbage bags fall down. And I always thought like, that's just a mess. You're going to have to get home and separate like your bacon wrappers from your empty beer cans and stuff. I was like, I want to be able to tie 2 bags up there. So just doing the corners is enough. If I do 6, if I do 3 across the back with 1 in the middle, 3 across the front with 1 in the middle, you can tie 2 separate bags, 4 corners, double using the center ones, and have 2 open bags, a garbage and a recycling side of it. So that became known as the Garb. It became super popular through 2018 to now, really. It was like Steadfast product through our rebrand in 2020. That was like the best one. Then I developed a chainsaw bag that basically you carry a chainsaw like a duffel. When I was there, family's property, I was going in with 2 chainsaws, bar oil, tools, everything else in both hands in snowshoes. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. I had a case of beer under my arm. So I was like, I went home, rolled out a thing of fabric, dropped the chainsaw on it, traced it out in chalk, made a bag to fit the chainsaw, put a shoulder strap padding on it. And I was like, and put pockets on it for all the different things. The Garb. And now we do a rugged version made out of vinyl. We just call it the rugged spare tire bag. The chainsaw bag and then the propane tank bag are like what we're known for. I didn't want to do a metal mount for my propane tank. I didn't really have any place to do it. And I was like, I have strong straps, I have good designs, and I want storage. And so I'm going to make a bag for this propane tank. It holds the hose. It has a lid on it now that you can leave the hose connected. You can coil it up around the top instead of having a dirty exposed propane tank, having to get your hose out of your car, getting it on, fighting with the dirt that's around it. The dirt is not there because it's covered and protected. The hose can stay connected or it stays in its little integral hose pocket. You don't have to drill into the side of your Jeep. You can mount it on a ladder, a spare tire, a rack, whatever. So those are our 3, like, we really pursued a unique and thoughtful design with multiple purposes. And then the last product I would say that is really like truly unique would be the tailgate bags. No product in the world had straps for tailgate specifically designed to unclip the bottom and let it swing out when the tailgate dropped. We designed that, I want to say 2.5 years ago. And we made what we call a protection panel for it. So a separate panel that stays against the tailgate. So I took the inspiration from our military socks where we wear 2 pairs of socks. So friction is between the fabrics instead of your fabric and your skin to reduce blisters. So I said, okay, we'll do 2 panels separated. So friction will be between those instead of the bag and the paint, and it'll reduce like scuffing on your tailgate. So you can unclip it. When you can unclip the bottom, when you undo the tailgate, it swings down. It's still functional. It doesn't pinch between the tailgate and the bumper. And we do our best to protect the paint. So we were the only ones in the world who had a functional, like, purpose-built strap system for tailgate for like close to a year. And recently there's a couple other companies who have realized that was a need and developed their own method for it. I would not say that the couple companies I know, because they're much more like well-established than we are. They're big companies, and I would never accuse those ones of piggybacking on it. They have recognize the need and they develop their own unique methods for it. But we did enjoy like a year of like unimpeded competition of the only ones that actually had a purpose-built tailgate bag.
Looking at that online, and I absolutely love that concept, right? Because when you drop your tailgate down on a regular style one, your bag's going to be underneath your tailgate. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I had a reel almost go viral, which is weird because I hate social media and I didn't really know what that meant. But I had one almost go viral when we first introduced it, and it was just like it was like a picture from two different angles of me undoing the tailgate and it's swinging down, and it was like move slow, and so there's some cool beat to it as the bag just went down and it swung, and I just like waved a little bit. I put the caption, "Don't pinch your bag" or "Don't pinch your sack" or something like that. And it got like 12,000 views in a day. And I was like, oh my God, this is viral. Yeah, we enjoyed that for a year. But competition's healthy, and it's forced me to identify a couple small improvements to that so far. And it does it for everything. But yeah, I'd say those are our four things that are like, we found a need that nobody else, well, the tire bags existed, but we made like a super unique strap system that like made the bag double as a traction board mount and made you be able to remove it quickly, made it like ridiculously strong. Although spare tire bags existed, we made like a super unique purpose-built strap system to really function. We're the first ones to ever put something inside of the rim of the bag to tie things up. Over the last 5 years, a lot of companies have added stuff like that, but they would have just got feedback from their customers. Hey, my bag keeps falling down on the bottom. Yeah, we make a gigantic version of it for Strikeforce 67 as the Canadian tailgater tire table. It's a tongue twister. It's the tailgater tire table tongue twister bag. So it's like a gigantic version of it with an extra sleeve in the back of it. So Kevin is like the Canadian distributor for those, and he asked us to make a bag for it. So we make one of those too. It is probably the biggest spare tire bag on the market. It is enormous.
We had a great conversation with him about this bag. Now, I don't know if you heard it or not, but
I forget what he calls it.
The dead body bag is basically what we determined. You can put a dead body in the bag and it'd be fine.
Probably.
Oh, yeah. It's well on 30 Kevin. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite the conversation. It went sideways really fast.
As it does with Kevin.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. First of all, what is the product made out of? And then second of all, your variety of colors available.
Yeah, I was going to say the colors. Like one thing about going to your website and looking at products and just seeing the bags. Like I've seen the gear at the Overlanded events, right? The two that I've been there. Actually seeing and touching the material and seeing the colors, like the color schemes, you don't get that color schemes with a lot of other companies. Having a red Jeep, you're like, oh, I can get like a red bag or something that's matches like your color theme. So I like that, the option.
Yeah, we're always up to do some wild designs. We made a tool bag with every different piece of material being either gray, black, or yellow, down to tiny little squares of Cordura that you put over the end of a zipper to finish it. Like some of those tiny little things were yellow, where like one side of the pocket was gray, one side of the pocket was black, and a tiny little piece of yellow. So yeah, Sean's Storytell Now has that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the thing is like we don't charge anymore, so we got to cut the material anyway, and same number of pieces are there. I don't care what color it is. We want people to have fun with it. So yeah, we even do like weird whatever. If someone wants a different color stitch, as long as it's not 5 times more expensive to buy that spool of thread, we'll buy a spool of thread just to do orange thread on a black bag because somebody wants it to match the leather seat for their Bronco or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. The one thing I do have to recommend to our listeners, if you get the chainsaw bag, don't get the green, because you set that down in the green forest.
Be gone. I wanted a camo, and I was like, that's bold of you. Don't take your eye off it.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I noticed on the chainsaw bags, you guys have different sizes available, which is nice because there's different sizes of saws. So
yeah, we go in size increments. I originally established them 14, 18-inch bar, because they all typically have the same size body engine, and then 6-inch increments after that. When I first introduced that, there were some guys in BC who had saws with 36-inch bars. I was like, I guess that's our high end. So we do that, and they're like wild. If you roll out the bar and you're like, how do you even hold this thing? Certainly not mounting it. With the introduction of so many different size saws and the battery ones, we have gotten it wrong a few times in the last year. But if someone says, hey, it's really tight on the handle end here, we go, okay, what model saw is it? Can you send us specs of it? We put it in a little note for next time, and we'll make them a new bag, send them a new bag. Yeah. It's just a learning opportunity for us to get a database of those. And we've probably got the sizing wrong half a dozen times this year and had to remake people's bags, but we're willing to do that because it's typically like we should have asked another question if we weren't confident of it, but we make it right.
Yep. There's so many different saws out there, right? It's hard to.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your folding pad.
Oh yeah. Wilderness yoga mat.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically a pad that you can kneel on, you can sit on. There's nothing worse when you're trying to work on something and the little gravel is poking into your knee and stuff like that. So nice little pad makes it easier to work on your vehicle. This should be something that every Jeep owner has.
Yeah. It's like I use it all the time, and it folds up. Like I'm like talking it as if I'm surprised about it. I designed it. I wanted to make it fold in dimensions that would tuck in nice spots, be like long enough that it covers most of the heavy portion of the torso, head, hips of a person's body when they're laying on it. So it's 19 by 60 inches, I believe, are the raw dimensions of it, maybe 20 by 60. Yeah, 19 by 14 are the size of the foam panels in it. It's closed cell, so the foam doesn't absorb water. Water can get between the two panels of fabric, but it'll drain, and the foam doesn't absorb it. Or it's a half inch thick, so but it's you can walk around on gravel on your bare feet on it because it's thick, high density foam.
Right.
But if you fold it in half, it's really great for kneeling on. If you fold it in fours, like it's really like you can drop your knees on it. It's a full 2 inches of thickness there. Great dog mat. Like you can use it for anything.
Yeah.
This guy almost drowned on one once.
Only once.
They are not approved. They're not approved personal protection devices.
Another story behind that.
I'll tag you guys in a reel that I posted like last summer or the summer before. It will float, like it
floats quite nice.
It's like being in the Dead Sea in very like salty water. It helps you float a little bit. He was laying on it, forgot where he was drifted under a log, got pulled under the log. I was recording, and for a second I was like, "Oh, that's awesome! That's such a cool thing." And I was like, "Oh no!" Yeah, I gotta go pull him in there.
True friend fashion, right? Okay, I got to record this while he's almost drowning, and then I'll warn him, right? After the fact, right?
Yeah. No, I was about to start running in, and then I saw his leg pop up out of the water on the other side. He sprung out. I was like, okay, no floating and sleeping.
It's the new adventure trail gear paddleboard.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, okay, we can absolutely never advertise this as like a swimming or flotation device. There's way too much liability in that. But I'm excited to try it out this winter as crazy carpet / toboggan, because I think
there we go.
Impromptu sled.
Oh,
Nice padded for your butt, so you're all good to go.
Oh yeah, nice and slick, some padding to it. You can even pull the front panel over your knees like an actual toboggan. I think we're going to do races for Brave the Burr. I think we're gonna do races on them.
that's awesome. Please do that.
It's going to be a whole series. Yeah,
I definitely want to get into Brave the Burr in a second, but I want to touch base on some of more of your products. The recovery bag.
Yep.
Love that.
Yeah, it's a nice, simple, rugged bag. Good size. You're not going to fit too much stuff in it, so you're like useless stuff that hasn't been touched in years. But yeah, just a nice, rugged bag. I think we sell it for $80, $85.
$85. Yeah.
Yeah. And we manufacture tons of them for Afraid Not Ropes as well. He assembles his kits in them. But yeah, it's just a nice, simple, rugged bag.
Energy Ontario. The reason why I'm not on the camera.
So that's not true. He's doing website stuff, looking at customer service stuff, and he's researching
all the solar charger stuff proper. We don't want to burn our Jeeps to the ground I do solar for a living, but when you're packing it all into a vehicle, there's so many things that you need to take into account for. And crossing different brands is not something I'm fond of. So I'm looking at Vectron and Renergy and all the different components.
He's in the zone.
I'm in the zone.
You're the guy that I have to talk to when I figure out my solar, or when I need to figure out my solar energy.
Definitely.
I don't know the answer. I know the right people to ask.
You're gonna have the luxury version of it that it's gonna make you cry when you see the cart, because you will not skid or cut corners on it.
Electrical is not something you want to skip or cut corners on anyways.
Like I said, I don't like burning down a Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to leave a comment about a Jeep, but I'll just leave that alone.
Yeah. He already told me I need to get the folding mat because my Jeep breaks down so much. He said, Trisha, you need to get the folding mat so that when you're breaking down, you have something to be on. For Jeep Day, you guys are always breaking down.
Yep.
So, Storage Cube. That's kind of neat one.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. I named my things such weird names. I got to rack my brain for which one's which. Yeah. They're originally started because somebody wanted, actually, it was Epic Adventure Outfitters that when we were developing the Kraken air hose bag, that was the first thing I designed for the air hoses. It was a little overkill. And I was like, yeah, I can make a clear top thing. You can see what's in it. It'll keep its shape because it's the rugged vinyl and the 90-degree corners will like help hold the bag up and open. This would be really cool. I made it. I was like, that's awesome. But way more than we need. Like, cool. I'm going to just transfer this into being a normal like storage product. But yeah,
It's a neat looking unit for sure.
yeah, you like I got a lot of people who buy like 4 of them, all different colors, and they use the color coordination just to organize their
Bingo.
drawers and everything else.
Screen top, clear top, top.
Yeah, Ryan Marks suggested we do a mesh top for a kitchen one to help if you put dishes away wet or whatever, you don't get any smell in there, any moisture buildup. So yeah, we have a mesh top one now, which is an awesome use for a kitchen bag.
That's a great idea.
We talked about tool rolls a little bit.
The tool bag.
Yeah, but we actually haven't though. Yeah, tool rolls and the wood sling are 2 other ones I find quite interesting.
The wood
The
sling.
wood sling new, like brand new. That's something I designed like a way over engineered version of it up 2 years ago. And I never followed through with getting my seamstresses to learn it. But just a couple of months ago, I asked one of my seamstresses, I was like, hey, you want to take on like creating a product? Like I would like a wood sling. I want it to be super simple. It needs to be able to carry like an armload of stuff. Get creative. You go ahead. And yeah, she made it. I love the shape of it. It's super strong with complete wraparound handles, big enough, but not too big, not cumbersome. And it's awesome. And she was able to make it the design as efficient as possible to make it as affordable as something made in Canada can be with properly sourced materials. So that was a nice product to finally add. Super useful. It can go underneath a seat. It can go anywhere. Takes up no space when it's folded up, and it's so handy at camp when you're going out collecting for a fire.
For the longest time, I used the spare tire bag, and I'd put it over grab the 2 straps, put them over my shoulders, walk around like a backpack, go and grab on my wood and go back. And people were looking at me weird, but it made sense to me.
Yeah, takes the tire bag off, grabs the 2 top pigtails, puts it over his shoulders and holds it like this, waddles around and fills the back of it with wood. Waddles around with a trash bag on his back full of firewood. Yeah. So now he has got a wood sling.
So now there's something.
The tool bag is something I've been asked to do for years. And finally I was like, I have been throwing all my stuff into a recovery duffel. I know I said they weren't too big to fill full of junk, but it is when you fill it full of hand tools. So I made myself a tool bag, but I didn't want it to just be like your normal, like 6 long pockets tool roll thing. I wanted it to fit an angle grinder in it when I destroy something bad enough on the trail and maybe cut it off. I wanted it to have, oh my goodness, an impact gun. And those 2 things right there dictated the shape of it all. And I needed it to fit long tools, which one of the things with the previous tool roll I had with just a generic one with the long pouches was like all the pouches are jammed against each other. And when they're full, it's so hard to actually fold it up. So we put a gap in the middle.
I see that.
So you could actually fold it. And that gap doubles as like I put my breaker bar and I put my torque wrench in that gap.
Yeah.
And then when the pockets are full, you can still fold it up. And there's a bunch of extra like straps on the outside that you can hook it to things. You can hang it to things. You can connect other things to it. So there's 2 long pockets, each with some elastic and Velcro inside of it. So you can organize a little bit better inside. Those pockets fit the DeWalt angle grinder at least. And then on the other side, there's a big square pocket that fits an impact gun and a pretty big impact gun. There's a lot of smaller ones out there, but it fits the impact gun and a battery. And then beside that big square, there's 2 smaller ones. It's perfect for hand tools. You're not having a ton of hand tools in this big long pocket. It's smaller, basically a little bit longer than your typical set of pliers. Great size to organize that stuff in. Yeah, so it's not just like your generic slap 6 pockets on a rectangle. It's purpose-built pockets for my purpose, but I feel like it's a pretty standard purpose for off-roaders.
We'll wait until you get back. I was looking at the tool bag, and I've got a tool bag kind of idea that I keep my tools in. And the problem is there's no organization to them, right? I've got a couple little pouch in there or something, but it doesn't, everything is just mixed mash in there, where as way you guys got it, there's some organization, and you don't spend 10 minutes trying to find that 10 mil socket.
Yeah.
I still do, but yeah. Yeah. Nigel's taken off. Say bye, Nigel.
Nice to meet you,
Nigel.
Nice meeting you. Is there anything product-wise that we haven't mentioned or we haven't talked about?
A neat shift for where we started is we've started to do a lot of wearable stuff. 5 years ago, I made a little hiking bag to carry a 2-liter hydration bladder for my kids, but I never really pursued it. I thought it was just a one-off thing for them.
And a couple of years ago, my wife bought a couple different Lululemon crossbody bags and stuff. I was like, I can make that. I made a fanny pack. I made a crossbody bag.
Yeah.
More storage, more pockets, better material, cheaper than a Lululemon crossbody bag. And since we have taken over Toronto Sportsman Show vendors' personal storage concepts or personal storage options by like, if you go around the Toronto Sportsman Show, I would say like close to half of the off-road guys with booths set up have a crossbody bag or a fanny pack from us on, because that's where they store their cash from cash sales. They'll steal their fanny packs from them, their business cards, all the stuff. So like we're into wearable stuff now, and we have made a really versatile backpack, which it seems expensive when you're comparing it to Amazon backpacks, but when you're comparing it to good brands of tactical gear, of, I don't know if Arc'teryx makes backpacks, but 511, any of those really good brands that make bags, those bags are like Mystery Ranch bags, about $900, I think, and they're the pinnacle of bags. But I think ours comes in at $245, which really it should probably be like $350 for what is in with the material that's in it and the features. But so we have that. We have now a chest rig as well. That's great for like being snowboarding, like anything where your hands are engaged in the activity, but you still need to carry stuff with you. And you need it to fit more than just a fanny pack. You need it to be on your body. And we're getting into more stuff. There's more wearable stuff coming up this year. And I'm not gonna elaborate any further on that.
I was going to ask you, is there anything new and upcoming?
Yeah, there will be. I just don't want to say it yet because A, there's copycats out there. And B, my life could get pretty crazy from 1 month to the next, or a deployment come out of nowhere. And if I say something's going to be ready for the summer and all of a sudden I deploy for 3 months or 6 months, then people come knocking on August saying, hey, where's this? And then they said they've waited and they're going to go work somewhere else. We do have some other stuff. It's going to be an entire new learning curve for me to design some of those things. So hoping in the summer we have a really big, new, cool thing to talk about.
Looking forward to it for sure. We should also mention that you are active in the military right now, right? You mentioned off air that you've been active for 15 years or so. And
I joined the rank force in 2010, halfway through my university. Yeah, I've been in rank force since then.
First of all, thank you for your service. We definitely appreciate it. And it is something that obviously you do that full time, and you also have your business. And then you mentioned you got Seamless still full time, and you've got lots of stuff going on, obviously. So there's a lot happening in your life, and definitely appreciate the service that you've given, but also the fact of bringing out these great products as well, too, because it's definitely a juggle being a business owner as well.
Oh, yeah. My wife's full-time military as well. I deployed. A couple months later, she deployed, all while we were in Ontario. So that was a very hectic year and a half trying to run the business. I ran the business through Facebook Messenger to my team for 6 months while I was on the other side of the world. Wow. And that just shows like the character of my team. I have an awesome, patient, but also really problem-solving team. Like they don't need handheld. They take the initiatives. I think we trusted to make good decisions. I juggle a lot, but my team is awesome. But yeah, my wife's full-time military. She's been gone in Ontario doing training for 2 weeks. She's back in another week. One kid's hockey team. I sometimes coach my other kid's hockey team. I'm at the rink 9 times a week at least. For some reason, I just signed them both up for more early morning practices because I like punishment, apparently. Yeah, we're in all different directions. We bought the property. We started developing it for this winter event. For some reason, we decided let's do it this winter and not wait till next.
Did you meet your wife through the military?
I didn't. We're both actually from the Fredericton area. She's from Oaktown, Boys Town area, like central New Brunswick. I'm from Fredericton. We went to university together. We studied kinesiology science together. We weren't really connected then. We were introduced by my best friend after I graduated and started doing full-time military training. He's like, hey, you remember Emily? She's in the military too. And I was like, oh, I'll have to say hello.
And the rest is history.
Here's this.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Burr.
Yeah.
Brave the Burr is, I believe, what you named it, right?
Yeah. I think it's the coolest name ever. I got some like weird, you sure you want to name it that? I was like, absolutely. I love it.
So what is Brave the Burr?
So Brave the Burr is, I've wanted for years to run a winter camping event, whether it was on vehicles or just, hey, let's go walk in the woods and build a lean-to. Because I've done winter warfare training in the military, that cold weather operator stuff many times, slept in tents, hot tents, lean-tos, improvised shelters just beside a tree. And I enjoy it. And now that I have a ridiculously expensive vehicle that I modify to be comfortable in, I'm like, let's put this in the woods. We got really fortunate when we were posted back to Ontario, or from Ontario to New Brunswick, that I found a piece of property that we were planning to partially develop for others, and for others to build family homes on, and for us to build our family home on. But it's a huge piece of land, and it was just perfect for us. It's got big mature trees. It butts onto and it partially overlaps with a 10-acre beaver pond. It's got hills, it's got streams, it's got some old legacy trails, and it's 10 minutes from where Nigel and I live 2 minutes away from Nigel now, and it's 10 minutes away from our homes. So we were out there, and we were walking around some of the legacy trails, and me and Ryan and Zach and Nigel were out there just camping out, cutting trees, having a fire, talking.
Yeah.
And we started talking about hosting people there and when to do it. And it was like, let's do it in the winter. Let's do one this winter. It's nice and close by. If anyone has problems, it's right off a subdivision. It's right off the street. It's 10 minutes from the city. It's a nice, safe place to do it.
Yeah.
There's no, in New Brunswick, snowmobile trails are a huge thing that people don't consider when they're not from the area. I don't know how it is throughout the rest of Canada, but it's a serious problem if you do not respect these snowmobile trails and you get caught on one or you damage one, it can cause accidents on them.
Yeah.
But a lot of the trails that are normally accessible in spring, fall, summer, those we were over there, in mid-December, I think it is, they become snowmobile only. So there's not a ton of access, and you got to be very careful to do your research. So we have this land. If we find some trails to do, sure, but otherwise, everyone can just come camp. We can have a big fire. We can cut some trees and clear a sliding hill. We have trails that people can snowshoe on them, but otherwise people can just come hang out. They can test their gear. I still have not permanently installed my diesel heater. I've randomly just carried around.
Hold on. You are this military guy that is camped in minus whatever weather without a heater, and now that you're gotten old and soft, you're going to get a diesel heater, right?
Yeah, I got an Alucab now. I got to be super cozy. I've only ever slept in it with a heater once, and it was ridiculously warm. So I need to find a way to get that lower. But normally I'm just there in the tent with my minus 40 sleeping bag. And
I'm just bugging you, by the way. I've got a diesel heater and I absolutely love it.
But when you can wake up and put the bed of the Alucab up and stand up and change from or put on clothes that are not frozen.
Yeah.
Be standing there in your underwear, not frozen. Super nice. Really looking forward to putting that together. But it's an opportunity for guys are going to have propane heaters. Guys are going to have hot tents. They're just going to have heated blankets with crazy power systems, propane heaters. Some of them are going to have those little propane fireplaces and their things. And some people are just going to come out with a tent and a sleeping bag, and everyone's going to see. I'll probably spend most of Sunday just going around and seeing what people are sleeping in, seeing what people are cooking with, because those are the best events. I didn't want to over-program things. I don't want people feeling like they got to constantly go and see something. It's not even going to be that big. We're limiting it to 25 groups. Each group could have 5 people, but we're not going to hit that. Every group's not going to have 5 people. And then we have, I think, 6 or 8 guys who have helped us develop the property to this point, who are going to be coming as kind of volunteers to help us keep things organized. But it's going to be a hangout. You can go and explore the woods. We're going to have a competition to see who can light a fire without matches and a lighter and stuff, or a flint. We're going to have do some sort of friction-based natural object, and then we'll have a flint one. And we have a cool ferro rod that we're going to start retailing that we've got them from Great Ape Empire, and they're going to hook us up to brand ourselves. So that'll be a prize for the fire starting one. We're hoping to have somebody willing to make an improvised shelter and sleep in it for the night. Who will there'll be a prize associated for that specifically. We're going to do sledding races. If we get snow, we have an inch of snow right now. We got some guys coming up from a group that I've worked with for a long time who are going to give some safe recovery demonstrations for vehicles in precarious positions that you would find slipping off of a road into the ditch or something. That happens all the time in the winter. Nigel will probably talk a little bit about some solar setups for folks, not putting on classes with PowerPoints and stuff like that, just sharing knowledge. And then, it's just going to be a hangout. Other than that, we are going to have a smoker. My buddy, who's just a phenomenal cook, is going to do a huge brisket and a huge smoked mac and cheese. Saturday, everyone's going to be able to focus on getting set up and getting warm, not worrying about pulling out all their kitchen stuff to make supper if they like what we're cooking. And they can just indulge in a big hearty meal to get them warm that first night. And there's just going to be an endless bonfire.
Nice.
That sounds nice.
So
Yeah.
when is this? I know it's in February.
That's a good question. It's the 15th to the 17th of February. So you can still have your Valentine's Day. You can say, hey, honey, I'm going to take you out somewhere nice. And then we're going to go freeze our butts off for 3 days. We're still going to get Valentine's Day, and then we're going to go freeze, or I'm going to go freeze after. Be like, "Come on,
Yeah.
you don't want to come." So you can still treat your spouse to Valentine's Day and then come out. Did that for two reasons. It's Family Day weekend in New Brunswick and Ontario. So most folks have, I think, the Monday off, or not most folks, but like anyone who's in an employment position where they get that kind of holiday. So they get the Monday off. So we're extending it to Monday. And if you were going to take a day off for an off-road event, would you rather skip a Friday, which is already a wash at work, or skip a Monday?
Monday.
I would
Right.
100% skip a Monday.
Yeah.
100%.
And Fridays are always that much worse when you're like waiting for the day to end so you can rush to get the last groceries, toss them in, and go show up at an event after supper.
Mhm.
And then that first day feels like it didn't really exist. You feel like you got cheaped out.
Especially when
People
it's
don't need to
dark.
rush on a Friday.
Yeah, it's dark at 4, 5 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
So
You don't need to rush on a Friday. You don't need to hate it.
Yeah.
And you can show up at 10 o'clock on Saturday. So your Saturday morning's on a rush. And then the first of the 3 days is actually pretty much a full day. And then you got your full Sunday. And then Monday, if you are far away, I don't think we might have a couple folks from Ontario, but we're going to have some folks from Northeast US. So they might be 4 or 6 hours away. Some Nova Scotia, some PEI, some stuff like that. So folks, if they leave at noon, they'll be back at supper time. So there's no big rush. You're just going to get to hang out. If you have issues with your heater, there's going to be spares there. There's going to be people there that can help you out, stick you in a warm tent if you need to be, or if things go completely sideways, I'll take you to my house 10 minutes away. And you can
So hopefully it's a decent weather-wise, right? So
Yeah.
no minus 20 and blizzard or something like that.
Yeah. We've had more cold days than we've had snow. So I don't know what to expect. So like we had a foot and a half of snow and then it went up to plus 18 for a couple days again. We'll see.
It's been a weird year. It's been
Wow.
totally
It has.
weird.
It has.
Yeah.
We've had 2 like good growths of snow and 2
Yeah.
complete washes. Which I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be super disappointed if we don't get to use the sliding hill because like it's an awesome walk down a trail. It's a perfect length that my kids will probably use it all day. Like it's long enough that you have fun going the whole way down, but it's not too long that you're exhausted when you walk up.
Especially as old
And,
fat guys like me, right?
I'll be sweating. But we also got a bunch of wood. So we're gonna have we're gonna get a fire lit out there too. So if parents bring their kids, or if parents just if not parents, if adults just want to go sledding, stick a pack of hot dogs in their pocket
Yeah.
and go out with their GT and go act like a kid for 4 hours and take a couple beer and stick it
Oh,
snow
fire.
with some hot dogs.
Yeah. That's nice.
When
Yeah.
I was a kid, I shouldn't say a kid, a teenager, I actually built a JT snow racer from scratch kind of idea. And I actually used skis,
Yeah.
waxed them up, and that thing absolutely flew. At our farm, we had the house at the top and then this road that went down, it's cut into the side of the hill, went down to the bottom field where the creek is. But that was a couple S turns in there to get down to that point. So we, of course, in the wintertime, we would pack up the snow in the corners and then also spray them down with water. The whole thing was like a bobsled track. And we built
Oh,
this
yeah.
GT snow racer from scratch with real skis on it and waxed them right up. And
You're
it
flying.
was so awesome. It was so cool. I don't know how we
That's
didn't
awesome.
kill ourselves.
That's awesome. Oh yeah. I was telling my kids, we had a giant group of maple trees at the bottom of this ridiculously steep hill beside our house. And we built a jump right in front of the
Yep.
trees. And we tried to go through the gap in the trees. And most of the time we just nailed the trees, like 5 feet in the air, splat, like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Yeah, I was wondering how we survived being kids, eh?
I'm really hoping if we got snow, somebody shows up with some super Mad Max sleds. It'd just be amazing. On that note, while we were testing out the hill a couple weeks ago before we lost all the snow, and my wife was like, "You got to cut a couple more of these stumps down." I took the kids' GT, tried to show them how they could pick the right line to make it all the way down, launched off a little bump, hooked the skis into the trees on the side, just completely like shot over the handlebars, ripped the steering wheel off, And I went all the way down, and the thing got hung up in the trees, and my kids were heartbroken. They're like, "You broke it." I was like, "I'll find an old like bike and I'll put some BMX handles on it to replace the steering wheel." Like, I completely totaled one of their GTs when I was demoing the sliding hill. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Maybe if you don't have snow, maybe you can do the Barbie Jeeps, the toy Jeeps down the hill, like you see in some of those other events.
oh, I'm really going to need an in-depth liability waiver then.
So how do people find out more about the event?
We made a Facebook event. You can easily navigate to it through our Facebook page. The event's just called Brave the Burr. Don't have a ton of tickets sold right now, but we have a ton of people who say they're going to buy them in the next couple of weeks, which I'm really hoping that comes through, because I'm thinking the sweet spot is going to be 20 to 25 groups. Because if there's 30, 35 people out there, it's going to be the perfect crowd. So it's on the event there, or the event's on Facebook, Brave the Burr, might be called Brave the Burr 25. And there's links to our website where you can get tickets. So if you're on our website, there's an events tab up in the menu, and it's the only live event there, and you can get tickets. So there's vehicle supported, tent, and then improvised shelter. The tent and improvised shelter is for folks who don't need like a specific vehicle spot within the trail system. They're going to park in the cleared area we made and bring all of their supplies in so that we can just stick them anywhere that there's an opening. So those ones are like $51 or something, and vehicle supported ones where you actually park your vehicle where you're going to be living out of are 91, 92, but that includes the meal now. Previously,
Okay.
we were figuring out the cost for food and stuff, and we made it like, I think it was $15 for a plate. But this first go around, I was like, you know what? Let's just go all in. We're going to clear the property anyway, and we want to make this one really feel special. But we have no idea if there's going to be snow. We might just be hanging out, drinking around a bonfire, eating brisket.
Hey,
There's
that's-
nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah, we do have a ton of prizes too. Like, for $90, you got a safe, reliable place to camp where you're not going to be on a snowmobile trail and have your vehicle Molotov cocktailed over the night. That happens in New Brunswick. You're getting, probably, if you're at a restaurant, a $40 meal, and you get a chance to win some epic prizes. Yeah, we got
And to
sponsors.
hang out with you and Ryan and Zach and all the guys, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
That's worth the money right there.
Oh yeah, just to go hang out with somebody. You're basically like, you pay, I don't know, 10% of that as a cover charge to go to a bar for a couple hours. But instead you get to go live there, burn all my firewood.
It sounds like a fun event. And I think no matter what happens, you guys are going to have fun. And that's what it's all about, just hanging out. And even if you're just hanging around the fire and checking out everybody's vehicles and how they're camping and the different foods and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
We're really looking forward to learning from this event. Did people want to do a little bit more? Did anybody want to pack all their vehicle up and go on a trail ride? That's not something I wanted to pursue this year, because once you're set up for cold weather, I didn't think anyone wanted to tear down. So it's not something I pursued, but we're going to take the feedback. I want to talk to people. I want to see, what would you like to see? What would you like to do? Is this enough? Do you want more? What do you think of the value of it? And we're hoping the word of mouth from just the fun that people have makes next year even better. And we're hoping what we learn, and the extra time, obviously, because we started clearing the property in August, and we've done all this since August on last weekend of every month. The whole gang assembled and did this. Yeah, we're really looking forward to learning it. And I think they're learning from this. And I think it's just going to be super fun. I was talking to my wife about just having an opportunity to have vacant land. And I just love being out in the woods away from people. But when I'm with people, I like to be out in the woods with the people I want to be with. And that's the people who share the hobby of wanting to be in the woods, whether it's on a bike or their feet or a four-wheeler or a Jeep, sitting around a campfire, talking, having fun.
Yeah, definitely. That's what it's all about. The campfire is, I've often coined it similar to your kitchen in your house, where everybody just, I can't even say that word conjugate. Everybody sits and talks, and it's the kitchen of the outdoors kind of idea.
Are you sure you're not a maritimer? That's a kitchen party you're describing.
That's exactly it. So
A maritime kitchen party.
Because half the time there's a TV going on in the living room, and there's more people in the kitchen having fun and talking and laughing and that than there is in the living room.
Yeah. We hosted a lot of gatherings this holiday season, and almost everyone was just around the island.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so funny. I just Googled how far is to drive from Mississauga, Ontario to New Brunswick. That's a
So
lot.
like 16 hours, 17
a lot.
hours, something like that.
You know what? It's closer to going to New Brunswick than going to BC. I can definitely go to New Brunswick.
That's true. That's true.
It's closer to New Brunswick than it is to Thunder Bay.
Oh,
Almost.
that's the scary part. I can go to New
That's
Brunswick
fun.
and then, yeah, half the
Yeah.
time I'm going to the Thunder Bay. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's
That's
nuts.
crazy. I told
Nuts.
Zach and Ryan, they're like, you have to come to the East Coast. Yeah. I'm like, I'm coming. I will come. It's no excuse. Like, I'm right here. Yeah. Dude.
Yeah, you have to tell us what if you want to come visit for a summer thing or a fall
Yeah.
thing. We're trying to figure out what our next thing is going to be.
Yeah.
The fall here is amazing. There's the whole northern half of the province is like it's just logging
Yeah.
and logging roads and old logging roads that never go away. So you can just go disappear up there and go over rolling hills and you just see endless color in the fall. It's awesome.
Yeah. that'd be
Yeah,
great.
that's something I do miss. When I was in Toronto, I did a lot of photography, and there's 3 or 4 years in a row that we went out to New Brunswick in the fall time just for photographing the colors.
Mm.
It was just absolutely incredible over there. So I have to admit that is one thing that the East Coast boys have over the West Coast boys. It's a much better fall.
Yeah, I never really had an opportunity to know what the fall colors were like out there, but I guess the climate doesn't change as drastically. Or I'm not sure
No.
what causes the color. I'm not
Well,
gonna
you guys
act like
have a
I'm
lot
right.
more of your oaks and your hardwoods and stuff like that than
Okay.
what we do.
Mm.
We have a lot more pines and spruce and fir and stuff like that than I think than what you guys seem to have in the mountains. Yeah.
Yeah, you got mountains. I think we technically have mountains, but I'm pretty sure they're like just past the threshold of hills.
Yes.
But it's still just as beautiful over there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't been over. It's been 4 or 5 years since I've been to Nova Scotia. My ex's daughter, she was going to school in Halifax. We used to go over and see her and that. But absolutely gorgeous on the East Coast. Love it. So-
Yeah.
But you have to admit, we're all over Canada. It's quite beautiful, no matter where
There's-
you go.
Yeah, I love being here because I'm from here. But I spent 4 years in Petawawa, and I met so many good people in the trails between Petawawa and Toronto, which was like, I didn't think I'd find that many, but there's a ton, and like gorgeous rivers, gorgeous, like
Yep.
rocky geography with so many cool lakes and winding trails through there and forests and up to the northwest of Petawawa towards Chalk and Chalk River and Deep River past those areas, like just gorgeous trails. Reminded me a lot of New Brunswick, like rooty, rocky trails.
Yep.
But I regret not taking an opportunity to go further west in Ontario and explore a little bit more. But eventually, I will just make a couple months trip across there.
If you could travel anywhere in Canada, where would you want to check out?
I'd have to say the Alberta to BC transition, just to that type of geography is nowhere else. And I would love to do that and then go north. I almost had the opportunity to go to Resolute Bay a couple of years ago, but I had deployed somewhere else instead. But I want the opportunity to go far north. Like it feels weird being Canadian, but never actually being like to that kind of extreme.
We had a interview a couple weeks ago that was released. I guess when this comes out, it'll probably be about a month old. But it was from the Bryan family, and they live in Atlin, BC, which is basically on the Yukon border. And they did a 1,650 kilometer expedition on snowmobiles with their 11-year-old son up to the Arctic Ocean. It's just, the whole Arctic thing. You look at my YouTube watch list and it's all Arctic stuff. I'm just totally enthralled with the Arctic right now. So definitely want to get up north one day for sure.
Yeah. I just want to go on one of those endless trips. Make sure I can do it, prove that I can do it, and just go see the farthest edge of North America kind of thing.
You've got the East Coast. You already dipped your toes in the East Coast. You go up and dip your toes in the Arctic Ocean, and then come down to Vancouver and dip your toes in the Pacific Ocean, and you got all three.
Oh, there you go.
I'm gonna have to. That sounds like a new challenge. It's not gonna be for about 10 years till I retire from the military. But yeah,
Yeah, I hear you on that one.
Is
Okay.
there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
I don't want to go on a full Grammy Awards speech here, but because we did a rebrand during a pandemic while I was separated from my team, and I rebuilt this business, separated from my team during a pandemic. There's a couple of folks that were involved in that I just want to give a shout out to, because like they made it all possible in like the wildest of conditions to make this successful. The first ones are just like some guys that knew me and my designs and that I created them and helped keep that brand recognition when we changed. Like the guys from Northeast Adventure Company, they're in the US, but like they were really big contributors to helping make sure everyone knew, hey, this is the guy that designed all this awesome gear. This is his new name. Make sure you know where this reputation is from, and let's hit the ground running. So there was those guys. And then there was some good, like steadfast guys who like we sponsored, or I sponsored in my old brand, who knew the product. They didn't just say, I'm taking free stuff, I'm sweet. They took time to know the product and knew who it came from. And then I was able to leverage their support as well. Marco from Overland X was a big one. Sean, the Story Till Now, helped out some there. And Nigel, when I had to leave like a couple months after I made the change, I was like, I don't know what my plan's going to be. Like all my production's here. I'm going there. I can't come back. It's COVID. And he's, I can do this. I can meet with the team. My team trusted him. They felt comfortable with him. I trusted him. And he was passionate, hardworking. And he was the one that took the products and packed them in boxes and got them to customers for 3 years while I was in Ontario. He made this whole transition possible. And then some of the companies we met throughout my time in Ontario, which if I wasn't posted in Ontario, I never would have met them. And those connections have really just pushed us to the next level. So you get Ian from Afraid Not Ropes, Kevin from Strike Force, Mike, the owner of Red Bear, Vito from Go Overland, Sean from Overland Rack, Ontario. I'm real sorry if I'm forgetting anyone else, like Luke from Overland North. This brought us into that entire community there. But that whole community, we all rallied together and made like a Canadian business coalition, basically. And then some of the retailers throughout Western Canada that you'd be more familiar with that have trusted us to become their manufacturer and didn't try to find the cheapest bidder of getting bags made from wherever to support the product lines. They wanted Canadian, they wanted good quality, and they saw the value in our Epic Adventure Outfitter. Landon, I work with him a lot for all their products there. And then we got Crave Automotive retails for some of our stuff. Overland Outfitters out in BC, we do a special tool bag for them. So we're really thankful for the Canadian business community, as well as some awesome guys from the US who really helped make sure that there was that continuity when we made the change. And like now we also work with guys from 207 Overland, Justin. He's been a big supporter to get us into his community. Ron Harrington from Ridgeback Eye Service. I met him years ago when I helped salvage an event that was just thundering in. And Ron remembered the way I interacted with people and knew who I was, knew what my character, and really helped us build when we made the change. So I ended up doing a full Grammy speech there, but it was such a significant moment in my life doing the transition with this new business, like for my mental health, for my family, for my team, like that I employ, that trusted me for their income. And there was a ton of people that just genuinely were good people to work with that helped us get to this stage. So definitely needed to throw that out there for them.
It's all about the community, right? And those people stood behind you, and you got some great partnerships out of it. And
so our last question we ask every guest is, what Canadian would you like to hear on the 4x4 Canada podcast?
Oh, man. You're going to send me a list of who you've done so far. So
we've already done a lot of the people that you mentioned, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm sure you have. That's a good one. Have you done Teddy on Winding Roads?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm actually really good.
Fun.
Yeah, I'm actually really good friends with Teddy. And
oh yeah,
yeah, we were actually just texting the other night.
I was just texting him earlier too for some work I'm doing on my diesel. But yeah, we randomly go on giant chats together because we both have German Shorthair pointers named Scout. Okay, so you've got Teddy already. I think most of the other guys we work with, you've got them. I'm trying to think of who you might know that we haven't had on, but
yeah, it's a hard one.
Is there any East Coasters that you can think of offhand?
Yeah, is there any East Coasters that
would have some good stories?
There's a lot of local groups around here that do a really good job developing like a community that is respectful, and they do well in the trails, and they're good for the off-road image. I don't know like who the leadership for them is enough to say. If you randomly contacted them, be like, "Hey, Nick Scott mentioned you," they'd be like, "I don't really know him."
It's all good. I know it's a hard question, and we didn't.
There's a group here There's a group here that started here. I think it started here called Jeep Nut. I think it started here. Actually, I think I inadvertently gave them their call sign or their tag pulled out by the nuts, and I sunk my Jeep in my own backyard's beaver pond. I was trying to cross the beaver pond, and I called some buddies, and they came out, and they came out after I had put the bat signal out there on the Jeep Nuts Facebook group. And when they came out, I joked around and I tagged pictures of it on their Facebook group, and I said, hashtag pulled out by the nuts. Anyway, I think that's their motto now, but they're an awesome group and they've spread all over the place. So yeah, I can't remember who specifically is the figurehead for them, but they're an awesome group, great engagement. And I think they're all over Canada and the US and other places now too.
Yeah, I think it's expanded from my understanding too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got some good groups of people over there too, as well. The whole Hub City Overlanding crew. That
you've got Ryan before, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah, he was the first one that told us we had to get you on board.
Okay,
then,
I didn't suggest him because I assumed Zach and Ryan were already. Yeah.
Zach and Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everybody that you had mentioned. But yeah, Hub City Overlanding. I want to give them a shout out too, because they're a good group of people. The Facebook group is tons of information on there, and yeah, they're definitely a fun group of people for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Zach and Ryan, so Hub City and Zach from the Lost Spike, like those guys have been huge supporters and huge help. Like Zach's shown up for some events with us, and Ryan's gone and represented us at events by himself once and with us a couple times, which is just awesome. Like I didn't have them in the first year of the transition. I should have mentioned them in that whole speech. But yeah, like those guys are massive for our story.
Yeah, for sure. So once again, we are chatting with Nick from Adventure Trail Gear. They manufacture soft storage gear, as well as we mentioned the personal, like the backpacks and stuff like that earlier as well. And all manufactured right out of Fredericton, New Brunswick. Proud Canadian company. And best bet, like I say, mentioned earlier, adventuretrailgear.com, as well as Instagram. Hit them up on Instagram. But they got a lot of really neat products. And it's neat hearing the backside or the story about how it all came about. So, I definitely want to thank you for coming on tonight, Nick. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to hear what you guys got coming up next year. Can't wait to see the video and photos from Brave the Burr, and I hope it really works out good weather-wise for you guys.
Yeah. One last funny thing. When I first made the name,
Yeah.
I made the brain fart of thinking burr was a word, and I actually spelled it out. My wife said that's a sound, right? So I had to change the spelling of it. So I appreciate you having me on. It was super fun to talk. Sorry I was late.
No.
It's all good.
It's
That's all
good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to have some fun.
Yeah. It was funny because I'm like, Wes, we have 3 different time zones right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely late over there. So I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a super busy guy, so
Yeah.
we definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah. Anytime. I got to drive a couple hours away at 8:00 in the morning to start a hockey tournament. But I think I'm basically ready, but it's almost midnight.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay.
We'll let you go.
Let you go.
Really appreciate you, Nick. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.
Okay, bye.